Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. Now, how can artificial intelligence and a virtual sampler help you from using the same drum kit and same drum library over and over again? Well, I'm going to show you how a plugin called Atlas can do exactly that in this video. So let's dive right in. Now, Atlas is a third-party plugin, so I'm going to head over to my plugins category in Ableton Live, click Atlas, drag and drop that into my project. And immediately, once it loads, you're introduced to Atlas, the user interface. And what might look like a weird jellyfish are really just, it's a map of categories that your sounds are going to live in. So you can zoom in and out, and obviously the farther in you zoom, you can see how many more samples are in that category. So you can just simply click any one of these dots and they represent a sample. So Sample Magic has included some drum sounds that you can already choose and work with right off the bat when you open up Atlas. So I'll go ahead and zoom out. And this is really the world of Atlas, that you can just click a sample and drag that and have it triggered into your MIDI device. You can hit the New Kit button and that will just randomly grab sounds from any of the categories, and then you can go ahead and trigger Atlas with your MIDI device. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's what's so great about that? I can do that with my drum rack or my built-in sampler. But what really makes Atlas unique, and it becomes a unique creative tool in your workflow, especially when browsing through drum samples, is the artificial intelligence engine behind it. And it works in its map modes the best. So let's head over to maps. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new map. And what I'm about to do is just add some samples. So I'm going to go to a folder that might contain multiple folders. So I have 3 folders here, and each of these will have a whole bunch of sounds in them. So I'm just going to select, let's just select each of these individuals. We'll add that folder. Let's go back to that. Add the next one. So you kind of get the idea. You can, let's say you have about 12 folders or something, and you're adding them all into, what you're going to do is you're going to allow Atlas to analyze all these folders. You can even click only drum samples. So you might even have samples that could be loops or strings or things like that. The artificial intelligence engine behind Atlas will detect what's a drum sound. It'll break it down into its categories. Now, what's so cool about this is that I don't have to go through each of those folders and figure out what's a snare, or even read the tag or the file name, you know, or what's a kick drum or what's a good sound. It will analyze the folder for me, place it in its proper category. And that's really cool, because now I can just load a bunch of folders and have Atlas do all that work for me. So it's a really awesome time saver in that aspect. But then it could be really cool because now you're not thinking about gravitating to the same folder, the same place, or the same bookmark that you might have in your DAW. This is actually now giving you the freedom to just, hey, I've got these categories. Let me just pick some random sounds from the categories and just have fun with it. So I'm going to have Atlas analyze these samples. I'm going to click that. And what it's going to do is it's putting all those sounds, like I mentioned earlier, into the map that we're going to see in a little bit. Now, once it's analyzed the sounds, let's go ahead and give this a new name. So I'll just call this Beat Academy. There you go. And you can even change the color. Ooh, a little sad, a little moody. That's nice, very refreshing. And then let's go ahead and hit load map. And now what we see here is our unique map for all the sounds that we've just analyzed. And so if you can zoom out, doesn't look like much, but zoom in and you get to see a lot more of these categories here. So the kick, these are all the different kick samples that it analyzed. The samples they thought were toms and snare samples. So it's really cool to have it all nice and categorized. And what we can do is switch from this single grid mode that we hear, and let's go to a 4x4 grid, something I'm kind of more used to seeing. And it works well using my MIDI device. So now I can easily trigger, drag and drop any sounds from any of the categories. Let's say I want to replace that with a rim knock, so I can just drag and drop that. And the big thing for me is like, okay, having to find a rim knock sound or a snare. I like having these visual categories because I can just go to that part of the map, click and drag. Now, what's cool is I can also hit the new kit button, and this will randomly select from each of the categories and place samples brand new into my 4x4 grid. You can also change the grid from 4x4 to 8x8. So you'll have more slots to input samples in. You also have some pretty basic sampler controls that you can see here that pertain to whichever sample you highlight. So here we have gain. We have the shape where you can adjust the attack and the release. You have a filter that once you go to the right turns to high pass, left to the low pass. You can pitch up or down. And pan. Pretty basic controls. Now what I like about this feature is you can help the AI detect what kind of sounds you personally like or that you like to expect when you're doing some random selection. So you can hit the like button here or the dislike. So I like this kit. So what it'll do is it'll take note of that. And when you start to do some random selection or you hit the new kit button, it'll remember to find kits that are similar to the ones that you like or sounds for that matter. So I can go around liking specific type of sounds. Like, yeah, that's the kind of mood I'm in. So I'm going to like that type of sound. You can also lock sounds in place. So let's say I'm going to lock this in. So when I hit the new kit, that kick drum or that sample will stay in place, but all the samples around it will change. Now, in case you wanted to apply some effects from your native DAW, in this case, I'm using Ableton Live. So if I wanted to add some distortion or reverb to that specific sound that I'm using in Atlas, I can go ahead and assign that sound to a specific output, a separate output. So for instance, let's say the snare drum, I wanted to put some distortion on it. So I would go over here and choose channel 2 so that the external output would be output 2. And then I would go into an audio track in Ableton Live. And for the input, we're going to choose Atlas. And right underneath the input, we're going to choose channel 2. And I'm going to make sure that I set the monitoring to input. So once I trigger Atlas, that snare drum is now coming out of audio 1. So I can go ahead into my audio effects folder, put some overdrive directly onto that track. So it might take some time to get used to the workaround, but I really love having the artificial intelligence behind Atlas to categorize all these drums. And if I'm still used to, or I want to still implement my drum rack workflow, then I can just simply drag and drop the sounds that I've found within all the different categories that it automatically found for me, and simply click and drag them into my drum rack or even into my session or project. So it's very easy to still keep your current workflow and integrate the AI and the intelligent mapping. So you might just want to utilize that feature and implement that into your current workflow. And that's how I'm using it now. And I'm sure that this program will continue to add many great and helpful things within itself that can be a really good asset to your music production workflow. So this plugin is pretty cool. It can be a really helpful tool to spark inspiration even just from organizing your already existing drum library. And speaking of drum library, I've put together a sample pack from some of my previous projects over the past year, filled with construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects, and this is yours absolutely free. It's my gift to you for watching this video. So just click the link below in the description box to download that sample pack, and it's 100% royalty free, so feel free to use it in your projects and just start making music and sharing it with the rest of the world. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.